What's up, everybody? It's me, the classical conservative, taking a libertarian approach to today's issues. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was a perspective from the libertarian. Gun violence in schools and what to do about it. Now, I know that this is a very heavy topic, and before you go starting to close out of it, stick around for a little bit. We may learn something. I may learn something. You just wanted to get a better idea of the whole situation. What can we do to make it better? I decided to ask people on Facebook what are some of the points or some of the solutions that Democrats and Republicans both came up with. And then I also have my own solutions as well, and I wanted to talk about all of them, why they would work, why they wouldn't work, or just talking about them. So for starters, we're going to be covering the gun control Democrat point of view. So the first one that somebody had said was to create sensible gun laws with a culture of safety. And, I guess the potential pro of that is with removal of more dangerous weapons, there comes the potential that there will be less dangerous guns to harm individuals. And the con that I came up with was that it's a removal of individual freedom, and it also has a potential to create a black market. Basically, the idea that I have there is, anything that you make illegal, doesn't matter what, if you make it illegal and there's still demand for it, then guess what? You're going to create a black market for it. And we know this through drug prohibition, that when you make an object illegal, whatever it is, it will inadvertently create black markets if you do not reduce the demand. So unless if you reduce the demand as well as reduce the supply, the black market will surely come. So the question is, how dangerous do you think a black market based on guns, if we already see problems of a black market for drugs, create catastrophic amounts of lives lost in the name of authoritarian principles? So I don't think I'm a big fan of the first reason. I think is a very valid point to, think if you create this law, will it make more problems? Hold the gun industry accountable for marketing their guns. Here's the thing. I was looking for solutions mostly, and it's just that, regulating the gun industry or regulating the market for guns or don't allow them to market their guns, I just don't think that that's going to stop a psychopath. If a psychopath wants to kill, they're going to kill. That's not really going to reduce it in any way. And then to top it off, it's a regulation that removes individual freedoms, and businesses also suffer economically. So, I just don't think it resolves the issue, after looking at that. And then for the next one, government buyback program. This is a popular one, a government buyback program, because they were talking about Australia having done a government buyback program. And so there was the potential to remove guns voluntarily to the government that could help spur the economy while removing guns from the streets. And of course, the con is that you're essentially disarming innocent civilians. It does, and I don't like to use this argument, but here's the problem, is that it's true, is that it does create a potential to create a tyrannical government. The whole reason why we made the Second Amendment to begin with was so the government has some level of fear of us. And then I've heard a lot of people say, well, military is just way more powerful than the people. Yeah, but we're not going to go out without a fight, you know what I'm saying? That's just what I think. If you're talking about how, the military has all this extra stuff and we would have no hope in defending ourselves. If the Vietnamese stopped us by hiding in caves, Who's to say that we can't do that? You know, it would just be a nightmare trying to quell, a population of people that is armed versus a population that isn't armed. You know, all it takes is one psycho getting into a leadership role as president, or performing a coup d'etat, and that would put us in a super dangerous spot. So anyway, but back to the government buyback program. What we've seen in Australia when they created a government buyback program was that it didn't exactly work the way that they wanted it to. A majority of the people in Australia did not give away their guns to the government, and violence didn't necessarily reduce. There was a Redditor who was talking to me and said that what I was saying was false about the government buyback program. And this is exactly what he said. I'm going to try to say it verbatim, and then leave out the insults that he threw at me. But I'll at least try to say his point without misconstruing what he's saying. So this is what he says. This guy, Dr. Watson 349, says, "While I don't have a dog in this fight regarding gun control, I will say your comment on the Australian gun buyback is simply false. You stated what we've seen in Australia when they created a government buyback program was that it did not work in Australia, and that a majority of people in Australia did not give away their guns to the government, and violence did not reduce." And he says, actually, the number of households with guns dropped by 50%, firearm suicide rates dropped by 80%, with no significant increase in non-firearm death rates. The effect on firearm homicides is of similar magnitude but less precise, somewhere between 35 and 50%. He handed me a PDF file with a link on it. Now, the PDF he handed me was roughly about, let's see. Yeah, this PDF is 49 pages long, and I kind of skimmed through it, just seeing, and it looks good. It looks like a full study. But then the question is, where is this data coming from? What is all this stuff? And so I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and try to pull up something, that there's no way that they're faking it, basically. And so I pulled up the Australian Institute of Criminology facts, where they were talking about murders since the gun law change. So basically, I pulled up that the homicides in Australia from 1996 to 2007, and they have roughly stayed in about the same area. I mean, there really wasn't a huge drastic decrease. So it says here, we wrote at the time, have murders increased since the gun law changed as claimed? Actually, Australian crime statistics show a marked decrease in homicides since the gun law change. According to the Australian Institute of Criminology, a government agency, the number of homicides in Australia did increase slightly in 1997 and peaked in 1999, but has since declined to the lowest numbers on record in 2007, the most recent year for which the official figures are available. So the highest in 1999 was at 385, it said, and then for 2007 shows a 282. However, it kind of goes up and down throughout the years. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that it's not related to the government buyback program. Okay, so the Australia had a mandatory buyback program in 1996 and then also in 2003. And so in 1996 one happened, but then it increased. And so in 2003, though, it did decrease. Okay. So I don't know. I just think it's not exactly enough to say anything, because we're talking a very small percentage that is increasing and decreasing. And really, throughout the world, there's been a lot less homicides, period. And I just don't think that the Australian buyback program it produces a significant difference. Okay, so basically, government buyback program, nice and all, good idea, but it doesn't really solve the problem. Okay, that's basically what it comes down to. Okay, after all that time of reading about it and understanding it, that's what I came down to. It's like, it just doesn't work. Not at the level that I would like to see. Okay, the next one. This was one for, we're still on the Democrat point of view, and I'm going to get to the Republican view, so just hang tight. Try to listen to me here. For the creation of a TSA-like situation in schools. Okay, so basically having, security, having guards. The pro of this, guns can't enter, guns can't leave, high potential to stop school shootings. I mean, that's really true. I mean, it is true if you think about it. It does have a high potential if there is there's people who are searching, the kids. However, the con that I have with that is the searches to all students every day. I mean, the kids are essentially born or every day have to go through a TSA-like situation every single day. And if you're a traveler, maybe you travel a lot, you probably already just thinking, no, don't do this. This is awful. Like, we were very reactionary when 9/11 happened, and what we got was the TSA, and nobody likes the TSA. I can only imagine what our issues are with the TSA and post 9/11. We created a monster. We desperately wanted airport security, and we got it thanks to government intervention. It spawned a very annoying series of steps, being able to board a plane. And the question is, did it fix the issue? Well, I mean, one thing I wanted to point out was there was a story of a man who said he walked past airport security onto flight to stop a girlfriend. And this is real. This is a real person. The guy's name was Demarius Cockerman. He managed to walk past all TSA security checkpoints just to get onto a jet and yell at his girlfriend. So my question to you is, if something like this is possible, where somebody is able to just walk right past security, what are we doing with all this security? What's the point? Does it stop the shootings? And then, of course, the answer at the end of the day is no. People will slip through the cracks, and the evils of having children be searched every day, it just seems a little barbaric, seems very costly, and it's just devastating, all around. I don't like that solution. It's a bad solution. The next person I have here is a person says requires license, insurance, and a title. Basically treat the gun like a car. And the issue that the potential pro of this is that it stops maniacs from being able to purchase a weapon, and it's a potential to stop school shootings. The con I have is that it may not stop shootings, as people who are crazy will find a way to enact their fantasies. It doesn't stop the demand of the insane. So, I guess what I mean by that is, as of now, you currently do have to pass a background check in order to purchase a gun. You can go to a gun show, a store, the flea market, wherever, all of which will ask to pass a background check in order to purchase a gun. So that's highlighted in this one YouTube video where it says it's called Hidden Cam Gun Show Loophole Exposed, which shows that there is no way to pass a background check without, you can't buy a gun without a background check. Insurance is an interesting thought, that somebody said that you should require insurance. I just don't think insurance would stop shootings. All it would do is just give people an extra bill to deal with. That would be crazy, though, if there was like a company that offers insurance for the guns. I just don't think that stops a killer, though. Like, oh, now the gun's that insured. I mean, it's kind of like saying, like, well, your car's insured. What if your car is insured and you're driving around, you kill somebody with your car? Did the insurance stop you? No, not really. It didn't stop you at all. You're crazy. You're trying to kill somebody with your car. So it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so that covers my Democrat point of view. I apologize if I didn't cover your Democrat point of view. If I did, I do apologize about that. Now, for the gun control Republican point of view. Okay, the first one is arm the teachers. The pro is it stops a shooter right then and there. It'll stop them. Okay. The con, of course, is that a teacher could shoot a student. I mean, to me, it just seems a bit crazy to make a teacher carry a gun around to protect their kids. I mean, do you remember your teachers when you were little? I mean, were all of them mentally sound? Did any of them seem like, oh, I probably don't want to have Mr. or Mrs. Smith carry a gun around because he or she is already crazy enough as it is? I mean, we can't assume that the teacher themselves is of sound mind and that when push comes to shove, they will be trained to neutralize an enemy. It just seems crazy to go down that route. We need to be able to stop the shooter a different way. I just think that, throwing this on the shoulder of the teacher, this is not a good idea. Another one, get more people educated about guns. People know about guns, and then they know what should be regulated. And then, of course, the con that I have is, well, at the end of the day, that doesn't stop a shooter. It's a nice thought. I'll give you that. While most people seem to have difficulty understanding like caliber rounds as well as whether something is automatic or semi-automatic, again, doesn't really stop the school shooter. So, well, sorry, got to throw that one out. Next one I have here is bullet control. There was actually a Republican who said bullet control. It doesn't sound very Republican, to tell you the truth, but I'll just put it into the Republican side, just whatever, Okay, so for bullet control, the pro, it does have a potential to stop school shootings, but again, this goes into my con with the Democrat point of view, where it says that it would essentially create a black market. People will find out other methods of retaliation as well. So, again, doesn't resolve the issue. We want to create a world where there are less shootings. So when you create a regulation for the gun, you still didn't reduce the demand for somebody wanting death and destruction. So if you remove the ability to use a gun, what's to say a kid can't grab some ammonia and bleach and throw it into a classroom? And if you don't know already, ammonia and bleach mixing together creates mustard gas. So to reduce the violence, really at the end of the day, we have to stop the root of the issue of why somebody wants to kill. Next one, mandatory background checks. No guns for felons. Mandatory mental health check. See, I've heard so many people talk about this, and okay, so the pro is potential to keep responsible people armed and irresponsible not be able to own a gun. And the con is, well, we already have background checks. That's the con. We already have mandatory background checks. Felons can't buy a gun. And you do receive a mandatory health check as a part of the background check. With that being said, school shootings still happen. Regulating the industry is not the answer, as I said in previous statements. It just, again, I'm not sure where people are getting their facts. Anybody who is serious about this whole situation doesn't even mention this, because they should know that we already have background checks and we already have, people being regulated to be able to own a gun. Now, for my favorite part, gun control from the libertarian point of view. Now that I have reviewed the Republican and Democrat point of view, and some of them aren't a bad idea, they may help a little bit, but I want to see actual results of stopping. So that's where I put in the libertarian point of view. 1, check the pharmaceutical industry. The pro is that it has the potential to stop the root of why somebody wants to kill innocents. And of course, if you do, I'm going to abide by my own rules, where if we do have some sort of regulation on the pharmaceutical industry, we need to be aware that that could also potentially create a black market if you make something illegal. So I get it. I'm going to apply the same exact rules that if you make a regulation, it could, and you did not reduce the demand, then it could create a black market. So with that being said, though, one of the first things I noticed about antidepressants was the first antidepressant that came out was Xanax. And it was created in 1985. And school shootings didn't really become more common until about 1985. They kind of just started spiking after that. I mean, they were largely unheard of up until about 1985. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and pull up this graph here so you can see it. I found that off of the societypages.org. It's mass shootings in the U.S. and what makes so many American men dangerous. So anyway, at the same time, I can't say that that they're not correlated. Like causation is not the same as correlation. So I don't know if the pharmaceutical industry is causing it, or if we're just making, if it's just a coincidence, because I would imagine these people have mental disorders. The chances of them being on an antidepressant is quite high. But then again, I don't know, maybe it does something and it makes someone tick. I think we need to have more studies of this. I think it's very important that we get some studies out to see if that would actually, if it's actually causing something. The next one, and I think this one's really important, and this is so easy to implement too. I really wish we would do this one. But basically it's stop glorifying the shooters. It's so simple. The pro is the shooters lose a desire to shoot, as now they will know they're not receiving any infamy for their actions. And of course the con is the regulation of free speech. But there's the one caveat to free speech. You can have free speech provided that you are not destroying someone else's right to their freedom. So I think, in my opinion, where we have all these news outlets where they post the name of the shooter, they post the picture of the shooter, and they're like, okay, this person killed themselves. Though at the same time, when you ask these crazy ass people, or at least the ones that are alive, they wanted the infamy. They want that. Or they write that in the manifesto. They want the infamy, that they'll go down infamous. Because that's the only thing that they have to look forward to. They don't want to live on the world anymore. So they go and they shoot up a bunch of people just to write their mark, almost like a high score, in a video game or something. I'm a big advocate of free speech. There does come a bit of responsibility for journalists and news agencies to not post the shooters' names and faces. I think that would have a drastic reduction in shootings. While I don't think that the government should force this, there should be a community effort to talk with the news stations to stop posting the names and pictures of the shooters. A simple fix and it doesn't require regulation to happen. For my conclusion, I think we need to have a light touch approach to shootings. We also need to make sure that we are reducing the demand of why somebody would want to be a shooter in the first place, and not removal of individual freedoms. Remove the positive effects of being that shooter, and also create environments for parents to watch and take care of their kids. We can't stop 100% of the shootings, but we can surely reduce it. And my favorite method to stop the shootings, the libertarian ways, of course. So I don't know if any of this was interesting to you. I hope you liked it. I would like to do more of these videos if these get popular. So if you do, please share it if you want to see more. Thank you very much, and have a great day.